So if you were to call me up and you were to say, Paul, I want a Helderburg that is very regal, very British, very unique, and has a color that's pretty much one of a kind, that everyone sees, that they go, oh, that color's beautiful. This would be the picture I would send you. This is Brewster. So let me give you a little background history on it. Brewster was a design that I came up with. I had a very nice gentleman and his wife that visited, and it's his first Helderburg, his first Defender, in fact. And he said, I want something that's unique. I love the stance that a Helderburg has, but I want a color that would be British, but I don't want to use a Land Rover color because that could be too common. I want it to be a very interesting color. So I went to work trying to find some colors, and I just felt like the color was going to be green, just meeting this individual, and Mr. Goodfellow, by the way, because he just strikes me as the type that would wear maybe a barber coat like this, or a barber wax coat, that he would wear muck boots, and that, oh, he does live in Vermont, by the way, so he just struck me as that type, had that British flair. So this gentleman does have style, and so does his wife. So as I was searching for colors, I knew it needed to be a green of some type. But oftentimes green is overdone, that there's just so many green Land Rovers, green Range Rovers, and all that. So the search took days. In fact, I think it might have even taken weeks. And then I came up with this color, and I felt this was going to be perfect for Mr. Goodfellow. And when I shared it with him, he's like, yes, absolutely, that's the color. And the really cool part was I only sent him one color, which was this color, because I was so confident that this was going to be the color he chose. And sure enough, he did. Well, fast forward, here's Brewster. It's here in the flesh. It's getting ready to go to Vermont. Mr. Goodfellow is doing a tour of the country, and he will be here in probably about 10 days. Yeah, it's about 10 days now to see it for the first time. And I'm excited for him to see it, and most importantly, drive it. And the reason for the drive, well, let me give you a little background on Land Rover. Land Rover had a special department, was called the Special Vehicle Operation. And in the Special Vehicle Operation, or it's short for SV, they would do unique things. So for example, if the military came to them and they said, we need something special, we need something with more horsepower, more torque, we need something that's faster, something that's going to move across the desert really quick, we need something that's going to be low maintenance, but it's going to be highly reliable and just give us more. Well, that's exactly what Special Vehicle Operation created. They created a 300 TDI that was unlike any other 300 TDI, because if you know, the 300 TDI is a 2.5 liter turbo diesel, but the 300 TDI that Special Vehicle Operation created was a 2.8 liter. Well, we were fortunate, and we actually bought a number of these special Vehicle Operation 300 TDIs that are 2.8 liter. And how they get that, it has different internals. The cylinders are bored out. It has bigger pistons. It has a different cylinder head. It has a different injection pump. And the power on this, unreal. The way it just, the low range and the mid range and the way it goes down the highway is, whew, it's fun. It's a lot of fun to drive, and it has a great sound. So that's why it's so unique. Well, that and the color. And let me get back to the color. I think the color is really important because the color does steal the show. So Brewster was in a show recently, and maybe you've seen the video. I don't know, maybe we'll put some clips in here, but it was magical the way this big, huge show, and there's tens of thousands of people at this show. And we are just sitting there, standing there. Well, we really weren't, because we were talking to hundreds of people every single hour, but you could just see the individuals as they were walking through the show, and there's so much to take in, and how it would just stop them in their tracks and go. And you would see their mouth go. And then they would walk right over to it. And it was interesting because they would go up to the side door, and they would massage the leather going. and how they were looking. And I mean, so Brewster, I will tell you, has been photographed tens of thousands of times now, and it's new. It hasn't been out on the road yet through Vermont with Mr. Goodfellow, and I haven't even driven it around here that much. So yeah, the color is beautiful. In fact, I've got a client, Dustin, that after he saw the color, he said, oh, that's what I want my 130 to be. So you're going to see a 130 very soon in this same exact color. And I won't be surprised if we see a 110 double cab, 110 5-door, 2-door 110, and all that, because the color is that stunning. So back to the engine. Engine has more low-range torque, more mid-range torque. It has a higher top speed. It can tow stuff. And this is like a holy grail engine that if you go to the forums where the Land Rover enthusiasts are at, they talk about this engine design. And I feel very fortunate that we got our hands on some of those engines, and we took one, we disassembled it, we seen exactly what was Land Rover doing, and we went to work. We started milling parts and we recreated the engine. And this is going to be the first video that you've ever watched, Helderburg video, where I'm going to actually pop the hood. And the reason I don't normally pop the hood is because you pop the hood and the vast majority of people go, oh, yep, it's an engine, because you don't really know what you're looking at. It's not that exciting. But when I pop this one, I think you're going to go, oh yeah, that's exciting. One of the things that we started doing too on a Helderburg is the louvers on the bonnet. So the louvers actually indicate that there's something special under the bonnet. They don't serve any purpose. They're cosmetic, but they're a cosmetic indicator that we've done something interesting to the engine inside. I'm not saying that we've done all of the vehicles that way, because this is a new touch for us, because we definitely have some Helderbergs out on the road that have our performance tuned engine that do not have the louvers, but this is the way we're going. You get the performance tuned engine, the louvers automatically come with it unless you choose otherwise. All right, so I talked about the color a lot. Let's talk about the front end, which I'm always proud of the Helderberg front end, because I've had numerous people say, oh, I can tell a Helderberg just by, when I see it on Instagram or I see it out in the wild, I can just tell automatically. So it does have the German metal grille on the front. I love this grille. It just kind of has an industrial feel to it. Depending on what's going on behind here, you can see some of the working parts, which I like that feeling, to be able to see that. It means something to me. It's got the broken beam headlights. It's got the billet headlight surrounds here with the Helderberg logo in it. Of course, it's got the Puma bonnet with the raised bonnet. And then the black and the green go together perfectly. It does have almost a 3-inch lift. It has the custom prop shafts. It has the custom radius arms. We did re-gear it, as we always do whenever we lift it, to make sure that the speedometer is correct, but also the additional gearing helps. It is a 5-speed manual transmission. 5th gear is a higher gear, so it's a highway gear, and then 1st through 4th is easier. We offer the automatic transmission. I just want to clarify that, but I always try to encourage everyone, drive the manual transmission, even if you've never driven a manual transmission, because it's very enjoyable. It's a fun drive to do, because it's a driver's vehicle, basically, is what it is. So let's walk around. Let's talk about some of the other elements that you'll see on Brewster here. So as I mentioned, it's got a little bit of a lift, meaning that it's right under the 3-inch mark, because that's like the magic number right there. You go any higher and it starts, it affects the ride quality, but with this right under a 3-inch lift, the ride quality is beautiful. It's perfect. You can drive it on the highway. You can drive it anywhere. You just drive it like a regular vehicle. It drives like an SUV, basically. Steering is precise. It goes well. Of course, it does have the wide stance, so it gives you that additional stability. The one thing that I always do on the vast majority of them is the little wider arch. And you'll see some of the builds, for example, like Helios or Utopia, it has the much wider arch that comes out about this far, and then it has the bolt holes. While I do like those are a Spectre arch, I prefer these arches better. The tire does have a little bit of a poke that sticks out a little farther, but it's a nice, it's an in-between between what the original Land Rover arches and with the Spectre arches. So I really like the way this one lays. So these are a fiber, so they break away easy, and that's the whole design. It's essentially like a dirt bike, where you have the dirt bike and the fenders that are plastic that can break away easy, don't get caught up in the tire. But in this case, they are designed to break away easy. so you don't do body damage, chances are. The bodies are all aluminum when it comes to a Land Rover Defender, just that's important to point out. So rust is not an issue when it comes to a Land Rover Defender. And you're probably going, what are you talking about? They rust all the time. Well, what's happening is the frame can rust on one, but of course the frame on a Helderburg is it's a complete body off, and then the frame gets bead blasted, gets repaired, gets brought back to perfection, and then it's sent out to be powder coated. But the body does not rust. What does happen is Land Rover originally would use hinges that were steel, and they would use bolts that were steel, and mixing the bolts with the aluminum, those steel bolts, that creates a galvanic corrosion, because you can't put steel and aluminum together. It creates that galvanic corrosion, which is from the inside out. But of course, a Helderburg, any steel bolts, those are all gone. Everything on it, aluminum body panels, aluminum bolts, aluminum hinges, but then we even put rubber gaskets behind everything too. And then I mentioned this, the arch itself, which we even put a little rubber trim in here. And what it does, the rubber trim, it just keeps the arch away from the aluminum so it doesn't start to damage the paint and cause any issue with the paint. But the real reason, if I'm going to tell you, is I just like the little line. It creates almost like a pinstripe and creates some separation. So the vents here on either side of the wing, let me explain what that is. So there's two of them. There's one here and there's one there. That one is not functional. This one is functional. So this is for your air to come through. And air, I'm talking about like your heater box where it comes in. And then that one over there, not functional. But if this was a right-hand drive, then that would be functional and this wouldn't be functional because all the equipment would be switched. So I just wanted to give you that little bit of trivia right there. But moving up, this is billet aluminum. So the brackets on the bonnet, billet aluminum. And then even the windshield washer sprayer nozzle is billet aluminum. So it's all these little details, well, these little details and many, many more that make it a Helderburg. So moving back, let's go back, more billet aluminum here, billet aluminum hinges. I did the mirror backs in the green versus the black because I felt like when we were doing this, I wanted the black to be here, but I didn't want to overdo the black. So it's these little things like that. Moving back to the door, the glass is thicker than standard glass. It's also scratch proof. It has a little bit of tint to it, not much, just a little bit. And it fits very tight, unlike a regular Land Rover. And if you look at if you go to different Land Rovers, classic ones that is, and if you grab the window and you shake it like this, you'll feel that the window is like going back and forth and shaking, that it doesn't create a very tight fit. And you'll see that in the vast majority of builds when you're looking, when I'm talking about builds, other builds. But when you look at a Helderburg and you grab the window and you shake it, there is no movement. This glass is thicker than standard glass, and these tracks are custom done. So the felt in here, it creates a very tight fit. The beauty behind that is when you're washing it, it really reduces the chance for water ingress. But when you're driving down the highway, then it's reducing the amount of air that will seep in around the windows and create that whistling noise inside the cabin. Because creating the very quiet cabin is very important to me. The door itself, all aluminum, but traditionally what would happen is Land Rovers would get the galvanic corrosion around this area here and then down here. The reason that that would happen is because it would have a steel frame inside the aluminum door. So steel frame, and then the aluminum was put over the top. This is the new style doors. So Land Rover later in their career created a new style door that wasn't the problem anymore. And then what we do is we open, of course, the doors, and we put a coat of epoxy inside the door. The door is also, we do some chemical treatments to the inside of the door, and then we do additional layers of butyl rubber and foam. So in any Helderburg, it's solid. So that reduces the wind noise, reduces the sound noise, reduces the drone of the highway. So it's reducing everything in there, making the cabin quieter, but it also makes the cabin more comfortable. So in the summer, cabin stays cooler. In the winter, cabin stays warmer. And then the thicker glass, and then the seal of the glass. But so how perfect is a German door? Well, you never thought a British door could be that perfect. But we've spent a lot of development, a lot of design to say, how do we make the doors like German doors? So a nice solid thunk. I got to do that again. And even when I open it too. So again, Nice solid, and then when you open it, just listen to it. So I wanted it to be like a Porsche door, and I think we've pretty much succeeded on that. So what else can I tell you about it? Well, there's more. So let's continue on. And when we get to the interior, I think you're really going to appreciate that, especially if you appreciate equestrian and horses and all that, which is, I'll tell you more about an equestrian vehicle too. But anyway, we'll get to the interior in a minute. Let's walk around the back and see some more magic. So let's take a look in the back, but if you see, Lucy's probably going to want to go for a ride, so I have to watch that. Hey, Lucy. Lucy, you want to go for a ride? You want to go for a ride? You ready? You want to go camping? Hiking? Come on. So Lucy likes Brewster, therefore I like Brewster, but in the back, mahogany flooring, and I'm sure you haven't seen any flooring this perfect. If you look at the way we routed it out and the seams and the perfection, it looks like one solid piece of mahogany, but it's not. It's multiple pieces that make up the floor. So this floor, you can take it out if you want to, but when you're driving around, if you have your dogs, if you have like a Lucy or something, I do advise to cover it up because it is a little slippery. And it's real wood, so this is not a laminate or anything. But the hardwood flooring back here, along with the color of the interior, it's fabulous. I mean, it works really well. But what we also did is we did the ambiance lighting package in here too. So we have the wood trim right here on either side, and under the wood trim is LED lighting, which is a nice warm amber color. And then across the top of the headliner is a nice amber warm color that lights up this, I'm going to call this a buckskin headliner. It kind of has that buckskin brown to it. And then the leather itself is like a saddle brown with a dark brown, almost black. So the contrast works out perfectly. It's a comfortable ride. In fact, I had someone email me this morning and said, I'm going to do a lot of road trips. Can I do it in a D90 or should I move over to a 110 or a 130? And D90s are the most popular vehicle in Europe where people are traveling all over, driving hundreds of miles. I mean, Europe's not that big, but you get my point, depending where it is, UK. But yeah, you can drive it, long trips. What does it drive like? I would say it drives nicer and better. It just feels more planted than a Jeep. It doesn't beat you up like a Jeep. It drives nicer than a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon. Again, doesn't beat you up like a G-Wagon either. But yeah, you can drive it long trips. I mean, it is a shorter wheelbase than the 110, so you'll feel a little bit more of the road than you would on a 110, but the only way you're really going to feel the difference is if you drove a 110, got out of it, got into a 90 and drove that. But no, I wouldn't hesitate to drive it hundreds of miles. And it's easier to park, it's easier to maneuver. Not that the 110's not easy, because it is. But when you watch the videos and you look at the pictures, the vehicles always look much bigger than they really are. And you know, my stellar height doesn't really help that either, because I'm not that tall of a person. But height-wise, you're about 80 inches on this, so it will fit into a garage. And it is about the size of a G-Wagon or a Jeep. So that gives you the idea there. All right, so NAS bumper on the rear. It does have the receiver hitch here, so you can just pop in whatever ball that you're going to use, and you can tow stuff with it. Again, it does have the SV engine option, which drives like a dream. And so, yeah, you can tow, and you can drive, and you can enjoy, and you can pass, and it would work well anywhere, whether you were in Texas where the roads are really long and everybody wants to speed. But I will say it does have the aerodynamics of a cinder block, so you'll pick up a little bit of the wind noise, even though we do all the sound deadening and the thicker glass and all that. The windshield is straight up and down. So since I told you Brewster is very regal in color, I figured we might as well tell Lucy to take her regal pose too. And I will say, Mr. Goodfellow, I'm sorry. I will make sure that the interior is spotless, but Lucy does love this one too. Oh, the color. How can I explain it to you other than I know for a fact that the video that you're watching does not do this color justice. And when this Helderburg was at the show, countless people, hundreds of people, just oohed and awed over the interior and how beautiful it was. And in fact, I took in a number of orders of individuals wanting to recreate this same interior. So this interior with this saddle brown has a little bit of a red to it, a little bit, reddish brown. It feels very equestrian. No, equestrian, it feels more Western in a way, I would say. That would be a better description. But then it has the dark brown, and then what I did on the dark brown is I contrasted the stitch with a caramel stitch, just to give it break it up a little bit, do something with it like that. These seats are really popular. This is probably my most popular seat, very comfortable. If you are a bigger guy, you might not appreciate, and when I mean bigger, I'm talking about girth-wise, you might not really appreciate the seat because it is a little more of a fitting seat. So if you're average size or smaller, then this is a great seat. If you're bigger, then you probably want to go to the Puma seat or the seat that you could see in, for example, let's say in Utopia behind me has the Puma style seat that is a very comfortable seat for long drives. This is a very comfortable seat for long drives too, though. It does have the locking center console. It has the USB Power-C on the outside of the center console. It also has a USB Power-C inside the center console, so you can store your iPad in there or whatever, plug it up, charge it. It does have the Modellita wood steering wheel on it, which is all handmade, by the way. It has all the billet aluminum instruments, so turn signal, headlight, and all that, but all the billet aluminum trim in here. And audio system is a mid-level on this one. It sounds really good. And then hands-free is right here. We build the speaker in. I think we're the only builder that does that, by the way, just pointing that out. Okay. So hands-free is built in right here. It has the 11-inch touchscreen, the Alpine, and it has the amplifier, which is under the seat over here. And it has 4 Focal speakers and has a subwoofer behind the seat. Amplifiers behind the seat too. Just wanted to clarify that. It does have heated seats, and it's a lot of fun to drive. Sound-wise, it has that deep, throaty sound because of this special engine that we have into it. So, and now let's go ahead and take a look at the engine. I am holding this part of the video to the very end, so you have to watch the entire video. But let's take a look at the engine, and I think you're going to go, oh, that is something different. All right, before I pop the bonnet, I just want to ask you, how does this go with me? I mean, does this look like this would be my ideal Defender, that this is the Paul Defender to you? Because I feel like it is. And I can't wait to put a lot of miles on it. I've already put some, but a lot. All right, so I'm going to pop the bonnet, and little trivia for you guys. So if you've never driven a Land Rover Defender, a classic one that is, the bonnet's on the left side. Not on the driver's side, but on the left side. And it's down low into the floor. So I think, understand that, that's cool. But the reason being is when Land Rover originally built the Defender, they built them all right-hand drive, and therefore the bonnet pull was on the driver's side, because technically this should be the driver's side. But this is a left-hand drive. And to clarify, because a lot of times people think, oh, you guys buy classic Land Rover Defenders with the steering wheel on the right-hand side, and you switch the steering wheel over. No, we don't do that. We buy original left-hand drive Land Rover Defenders that are classic, and that's why it's getting more and more difficult for us to get inventory, as it is for everybody, because they didn't build as many left-hand drive classic Land Rover Defenders as they did right-hand drive. Right-hand drives are plentiful, and there is a number of companies, builders, that will buy a right-hand drive and they switch everything over. But you don't have the collectible value if it's a right-hand drive and you switched it over, because it's not authentic. So I just want to clarify that. So now I'm going to pop the bonnet on British right-hand side, but basically it's on the wrong side. Oh, the door, the way the door shuts, magical. I don't know if you heard it, but did you hear that angelical ooh when I raised the bonnet? So here it is. It's a 300 TDI. Again, I think this is the only video we've ever done where we showed the engine, because you look at it and go, oh, it's an engine. Yep. All right, so 300 TDI, but this is a 2.8 liter, meaning that it's been bored out. It has bigger pistons. It has a different crankshaft. It has different internals, has a different cylinder head. And the one thing that we did is when Land Rover did the special vehicle operation, when they did the 300 TDI 2.8 liter, they painted it blue. Therefore, we did the same thing, because I am about that, keeping it original as far as in a lot of the look, but updating it a little bit, meaning updating it a lot, the way it drives, the way it handles, the way it performs, the air conditioning, the heating, the heated seats, the comfort of the seats, the sound deadening, the audio systems, all of that. Granted, I want to make it a perfect daily driver, but there's things that I just refuse to sacrifice that could be sacrilege. But anyway, so this is the engine, and I find it to be really beautiful, and it drives equally as well. This is Brewster. If you like this video, share it, comment, and I appreciate it. But it also has a backup camera. Just wanted to point that out.